Hello, Beez Bladers! Welcome back and welcome newcomers to the channel. I've got an exciting new release from Ruike today to share with you guys and gals, and we're going to get right in it after I say thank you to my subscribers, thank you to my channel members, and thank you patrons for making this what it is. You guys are just making this completely awesome. Now, I'm going to carefully get in here because, you know, I like to give away knives and I don't want to mess up the box all that much. Now, this one, I've got some special thoughts on it already because I know some of you are going to be like, well, I don't like that steel. But you want to hang out and listen to my opinions because I've got a couple things you might be interested in hearing. So, here we go. It's a rake. It's a rake box. Here we go. It's the D198-Pb. So, let's get in here. By the way, the knife that I was opening with here, this is the Spyderco Tenacious. This is what got me into the whole mess. It's the best thing that ever happened was looking this one up, and I'll tell you the story on that. I've told the story on the live streams before, but you definitely don't want to miss the live streams on Friday nights. That's where we talk about all the fun stuff. Not that we don't talk about fun stuff here, right? Can we get in here? Get in this box? Okay, here we go. Oh, okay, so you get the little, what you call it, informative doodad with some stuff on it, and another little doodad. And another little doodad, looks like a registration type card. And here is the knife. Let's see what it looks like. Let's, you got a card on it. And let's cut that card off. Here we go. And let's see what it looks like. Here we go. Pa-pow. All right, not too shabby. Would you look at it? Just look at it. This is a full-size knife. Oh, yeah, baby. So gonna take a nice close look all the way around and give you a nice good look at it. And hopefully I don't get into one of those videos right now where I say nice 50 times. Otherwise it may be a drinking game knife. And there's your pocket clip. Rake. There's your, wow, big old nice thick tip. Looks like it's a tad off center. Are you ready to see the blade? Pa-pow. Holy moly. Look at the size of that thing. That's what she said. Oh my gosh, this is going to be one of those videos. So if you're watching this and it's the morning time and you're having your coffee with Beez, good morning. And if you're having this at lunchtime, happy lunch. Hope you're eating something good. Maybe a turkey sandwich. There you go, D198-Pb. And I have a couple interesting thoughts on this one. And oh my gosh, does it feel sharp. This thing, I have the feeling, is going to be a laser beam. But we're going to get up all nice and close and personal. We're going to weigh it and do the specs in less than 60 seconds. Okay, let's get a weight on her. Man, it feels pretty light. It's hard to get a gauge on it because of this right here. I'm going to go with 3 3/4, 3.8. And it is 4.1. Oh, I was off. That's all right. 0.3 of an ounce isn't terrible. Are you ready? Are you set? Go. So your total length is 9.06 inches from tip to tip. You have a drop point blade with 8CR13 MOV steel. I'll tell you more about that. We have a satin finish, and your total blade length's 3.84 inches, and your sharpened blade length's 3.97. You got a 4-inch blade. Your blade width is 1.09 inches. Your blade stock thickness is 119 thousandths of an inch, and your behind the edges goes from 15 up to about 20 thousandths behind the edge up here at the tip. And your handle material is PA66 thermoplastic. Your close length from tip to tip is 5.3 inches. Your handle width right here is 0.98 inches. And at the widest point, you're 1.44 inches. Your handle thickness is 0.59 inches. And you have a flipper to open it up. And we're going to see what's in the pivot because we're going to take it apart. We're going to break it down and disassemble it. And it's a liner lock. It's tip up, right and left side carry. Thank you very much. Your hardware is T8 in the pivot and T6 is everywhere else. And your model number is the D198-Pb. And let's see how it does out of the box on some phone book paper. Oh, yeah. This is exactly what I suspected. Very much. Oh, yeah, it is. Look at that. It is super sharp. I've got some opinions already on this, and I had some before I opened it out of the box. But hold on, we're going to get there. So I got this off of Amazon. I think it was like $27.99 at the time of posting of this video. That's how much it was. Depending on when you're watching this, it could be more or less. You never know. Times change, prices change. But we're going to go over the fit and finish, action, ergos, and all that good stuff. And then I have some interesting thoughts on this blade steel and this blade shape and everything else. But first, let's get all up nice and in its business. As far as finish, has a really nice looking finish. Oh yeah. Nice looking satin blade. There's your brand, and going all the way down, let's see if we can do a little bit of texture vision for you. And how does it feel? So you do have some texture going on. Let's see here. Get you up nice and close and personal. Now this handle, it feels like the handle on a honey badger knife. Hear that? It feels like plastic. You know, they called it something or other, thermoplastic. It feels like FRN that you get on, you know, the lightweight Spydercos, but there isn't a whole lot of texture. I mean, you have these little ridges here, but they're not too grabby. Not too grabby. As in, not too shabby. And you can see right here where you can reverse that pocket clip. You have a big old spot for a lanyard. And I think this is going to be a great beater knife, one that you don't care to throw in the tackle box or throw in the back of the truck or drop on the ground or do anything with, because you're not going to be that worried about it. So here's going all the way around. So the finish doesn't look too bad for the cheaper handle. Not too shabby. And here's your pocket clip. You know, it's just about flat. It has a couple mushrooms growing in the shade there, but they're just about flat. They don't stick out that much. Let's see what it does in and out of the pocket here. Okay, nice and comfortable. It's not grabbing my pocket at all, so no complaints on that. So you got nice reversible pocket clip, and those screws don't grab my pocket whatsoever. So that's a good thing. And then the blade, just a tad to the clip side, and then what's our lockup look like? Can we see in there? Let me get a light. Let's see. It looks like, oh yeah, very nice. We're about 55%, so it has good lockup. And here's a look at the tip. So the tip is actually strengthened. I noticed when I was measuring, it got just a little gradually thicker and thicker and thicker when it got to up here. So it does have a nice tip. It's not going to be one you're just going to snap off real easy. And it does have a sharpening coil of sorts, not a big one. I mean, your plunge grind ends right in this territory. So you do have plenty of room for sharpening, and that's something I'm going to bring up here in a minute. You do have some nice texture right there on the pass-through. That looks like that's going to be a good pass-through. And here is... let's see, what does that feel like? Oh, nice. So the jimping on your flipper has really good texture to it. It's really grabby. That's a very good thing. All right, let's do some quick size comparisons. So it's considerably thicker than the QSP Penguin. You can see right there if I'm putting it in the middle, plenty more than the Penguin. And you know you got to get a Penguin, right? So I'm going to throw some up here real quick. You already know the drill if you're a part of the Beez Blades Hive. So here is the Spyderco Tenacious. And here's the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. Yeah, this is a big boy. It is a big boy, and you know, I think it's going to be a great one for different reasons, and then for other reasons, we have some pros and cons, and I'm looking forward to sharing them. There's the QSP Penguin. Get you a Penguin. If you don't have a Penguin, get one. You got to get one. I'm just saying, for what are they? They're still like $32. And here's the Ruike P841L. I like this one. And I like it when they have a name. It makes it a little easier on me. Here's the Petrified Fish PF838. At least I think it is. It's the PF838. So I'm pulling out some of my full-size knives here. This is if you want a big beater knife, this is one to go with for sure. How about this? The Ontario Rat #1 and the Honey Badger Worn Cleaver. Look at that. Yes, I mean, it's about beating them all out as far as lengthwise. Here's a big one of my all-time favorite knives, the Kaiser Roach. And by the way, I put links to every knife and all the equipment, the stuff that I'm going to use to disassemble. There's going to be links in the description to all of that stuff, affiliate links, discount codes, and all that. And if you don't know how to find it, send me an email at beezblades@gmail.com, and I'll tell you how to find it. There's the Sativian ST110. So the Kaiser Roach, does it have? No, look at that. If you look at cutting edge, not even close. Total blade length's close, but not cutting edge. No, sir. I'm going to put two more up here. The Kubi KU322. Now, a lot of folks in the knife community have this. Now you know how big this one is. Here's the Civivi Conspirator button lock. All right, let's check out the action. Before we do, I'm asking you to take some action. If you're not part of Beez Blades, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and then right over next to it, hit that bell. And above the bell, hit the all button. That's how you get notified by YouTube that, hey, there's new content, new knife content out there. It doesn't cost anything, but it's how you know that Beez Blades put another video out. And right now, I'm putting them out every other day. That's what I've been doing for a long time. So you ready? Let's see how this deploys. Okay, so it's not super fast. Here's the push button. It comes out, okay, that's not too bad. How about light switch? pretty quick, pretty quick. Now, as far as drop shutting, it is not drop shutty at all. It feels like, I'm guessing it has like phosphor bronze or something in. It does not feel like it has what we're used to here on the channel. So it's pretty easy to slide open, do the 2-finger slow roll. That's very nice. Yeah, I don't think it has bearings. And if it has bearings, I'll be very surprised. So this is a takeaway. Well, let me hold off on those thoughts. Left-handed. Okay, now this pass-through is pretty nice. It's very easy to access. You can see there the nice jimping on the pass-through. Yeah, it grabs my skin very well. I don't have to dig my thumb. I don't have to use my fingernail. So it's very easy. Now, as far as closing, you're going to have to push it closed. We'll see what it does after I take it apart and clean it. But this reminds me of cheaper knives that I used to have, except for the steel on this is way better than a gas station knife. And I'm going to get into that here more in just a minute. During the breakdown and after the breakdown, I'm going to get into more of my thoughts on why this is going to be a great knife for beginners or for people that have been in this a while and you've had trouble sharpening your knives. There's a reason for this blade shape and a reason why you should have an 8CR13 knife. And we're going to get into that, especially when it comes to sharpening. And if you've had trouble sharpening and not been able to get your knives sharp, we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. Now, as far as ergos, my hand, let me back out just a little bit here. My hand is 4 inches from here to here, 3.5 from here to here, and from the bottom of my palm to the tip of my middle finger is 7.25. How's the ergos? All right, so the ergos aren't bad. Not too shabby. I'm giving it the old squeezy squeeze, the old bees squeeze. It's not too bad. Now, what I am feeling is something that I always complain about, gripe about, maybe just a little bit. The inside right here is kind of sharp, but you could get a piece of sandpaper just right here on the inside where my fingernail is. Let me make sure we're all focused there. Just on the inside, I can feel that when I'm squeezing. So it's kind of this. Hear that? So it's like that. Now the top isn't bad. The top is kind of, it feels soft and rounded. So the only place that I'm really noticing is on the inside where I normally complain about on plastic or tight knives like this. And pretty much any kind of knife. G10, micarta, when it's sharp on the inside, that's kind of a little gripe I have. But if I'm just holding it regular, yeah, I can feel that. Now, the ergos are good. It's not digging in. The only, like if I'm doing a push cut, it's pretty comfortable. I'm just feeling inside there, which is easy to take care of with a little bit of sandpaper. So the classic grip, the jimping is pretty good. I like jimping a little smaller. This jimping, it's made well. I just wish there were a lot more. I like small jimping. These big ones tend to dig a little too much. It's not my favorite. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying they're not my favorite. And choke up, I guess if you're doing some light cutting, you could choke up on it. And I don't think this is going to be a heavy cutter. This is a slicer. All day long, a slicer. Cutting fruit, stuff like that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But, yeah, you could choke up a little bit. You got to be careful because it puts you right up there at the heel. It's comfortable. Reverse grip. Reverse grip's comfortable. Let's go ahead and disassemble it, and I'll tell you some thoughts and opinions on it, and then we'll do final thoughts. You ready to get inside and see what it looks like? Let's do it. Okay, let's get in here. Everything that you see me use, there is a link in the description too. Get you a Weehaw bit set. That's what I recommend. I'm going to use a T6 and a T8, and that's all we're going to need. And by the way, this doubles as a bit driver, which is awesome. So this is a whole kit in itself. I mean, if you can, get a couple. Put one at home or one in your truck, you know, one in your car, whatever, one at work, wherever. But we're going to get inside here and see what it looks like and get you a stubby Weehaw bit driver. There's a bunch of different kinds of fancy ones out there. There's this cheaper one, then there's more expensive ones. All these I've linked in there, but get you one of these. I mean, you can't go wrong with this because this is what I typically like to use when I'm breaking free the pivot screw. Oh, and I didn't have to. It's already, I mean, it took no force whatsoever. So there is our pivot screw, and let's see what it looks like here. There's a little bit of thread locker on there. See the thread locker going on? And then definitely get you some doodads. You'll see what I use my doodads for. You can use these for you don't even have to take your knife apart. You can get down in there, clean the dust out, a little bit of grit here and there. But I tend to use them myself more for looby-doob, to get that looby-doob off. So let's see. Let's go ahead and take off our pocket clip. Do we need to? Yep, looks like it. Looks like we have some liners going on in there. All right. So that looks like I wouldn't call it red Loctite, orange Loctite. Or it's not Loctite. It's technically thread locker, kind of like people call tissues Kleenex, you know, that kind of deal. So there is a lot on there, but it was not sticking very heavily. It was easy to get those screws out. Yeah, not too shabby. All right, let's take all these dudes out. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws total. Now, one of the things about 8CR13 MOV, I know there's a lot of you in here that have been into knives for a while, and, well, you're probably not watching right now because you're like, oh, 8CR, not interested. But here's a couple thoughts. If you have had trouble sharpening your D2 knives, you've had a little bit of trouble getting them sharp, and you wonder why, I say that 8CR, now, anything less than 8CR, I don't say that I can recommend it at all myself. But 8CR13, I believe, is the perfect steel to learn how to sharpen your knife on. Not to mention, it doesn't last, it doesn't keep an edge as long, but guess what? It also sharpens a lot easier and a lot quicker, and it teaches you how to hold your angle, and we'll get into that more here in a second. So this is like weightless. Completely, it doesn't weigh anything at all. It's like super light. So here's your liners. That came off real easy. So I'm going to clean this off. And I just have a rag here with some rubbing alcohol on it. You can use an old t-shirt or anything like that. And I have a whole playlist of, what do you call these things? Disassemblies. I'll put a linky-doo up in the corner if you want to go check them out. So there you go. That cleaned it up nice and pretty. I got a lot of alcohol on there, right? Better alcohol on there than in me, right? So, man, this is a super slicey blade. This reminds me of the Spyderco Tenacious. Super slicey. Now, let me keep track of what we have on here before I go hog wild. So here is how I take it off. You can see you have this plastic nylon washer. That goes first. And then on the inside, you have what looks to me like a bronze, phosphor bronze. Really thin, super thin phosphor bronze washer. Now that's another thing, another advantage of the phosphor bronze is if you do want a knife that you're going to get, I mean, digging down in the dirt, getting nasty, these are going to get a little less dirty than gumming up your what do you call those things? Your bearings. So this is a whole different, you guys haven't seen me do one of these knives in a long time. Let me give you a look here. See there's the upside down 8CR13 MOV, but I'm just cleaning this off. And there was a little gunk in there, so I think it will improve. It's probably going to improve just a wee bit. I'm getting that all nice and cleaned out. And now I'm going to take the pivot out. And it has, yeah, it's some kind of gunk. I don't know what that is. It almost looks like some kind of paper product. But I'm going to remember that the phosphor bronze is what goes next to the blade. So let's clean this off. I'm guessing we're going to get some improvement. Now, another thing about this knife, the rake, I have like 2 or 3 sitting over on the table that are at this same price point, but they're at 14 C28N, which is very easily, it's not even arguably, it's a much better steel than 8CR13. And they're in the same price range, like the Rake P801, like this one right here. This one is 14 C28, and I'm pretty sure it's like 28 bucks. And then you have, this one is the Rake P865, which I really love. And this one, I believe, is around 30 or less. But this one has a couple advantages that I think are actually okay. You get the 8CR13 MOV. If you're using it for slicing and not heavy stuff, it is going to be absolutely great because it gets so sharp. And another thing about it is when you dull it, you can strop this back to razor sharp in like 2 seconds. And see how tall this grind is? It has great geometry. It comes down super thin, full flat grind. That's another advantage because, you know, with my Spyderco Tenacious, that is when I learned how to sharpen. I used to get the cheap knives, the $10 and $12 knives from wherever, you know, the gas station knives, and I thought that I didn't know how to sharpen knives. And that's not the case. It was, I needed a little bit better steel to learn how to sharpen on. And I personally feel that 8CR13 is the perfect steel. If you have a bunch of D2 knives and you have trouble getting them sharp, I got news for you. D2 isn't the easiest steel to sharpen for a lot of people. And if you are going to sharpen D2, I recommend using diamond stones. Just saying. And, you know, maybe I'll make a video, or that's something we'll definitely talk about on the live stream. And look at here. Would you look at that? We have a D-shaped pivot. What is that matching up with? We shall find out. Huh. I don't see where it's matching up. Okay. Let's look at the scale over here. Okay, see where the scale? They did that right. They did the D-shaped pivot. All right, so let's put this dude in here and get a little bit of lube-dube. So I'm going to put some KPL Original. Here's the new bottle of KPL Original. And I'm heavy-handed, so I put some on my little doodads here. Very nice. But before I lose my train of thought, because I'm very good at it, Friday nights, live at the Hive. Oh, right. Don't miss Friday nights. Every Friday, 8:15 to 11:15 p.m. at least, Eastern Daylight Time. We come and we have a blast. The knife community comes together and we just have so much fun. Okay, so I'm putting the black nylon one. I think it's a nylon washer. There's going to be people that will argue, you don't need lube on those flat washers. You may or may not. I'm putting it on there. I like it. I'm just doing, you could do whatever you want. I like putting a little bit on there. All right, so there's that. But Friday nights, live at the Hive is a great time to come and hang out with the knife community. So I'm putting this dude back on there. Now, see when I put this back on here, see that top right there where it's flat? I'm going to make sure I want this guy facing that direction. So I'm just going to do that right now. And this right here is the stop pin. I'm going to put that stop pin on there. Goes right here in this spot that I'm missing. You don't want to miss the hole, you know what I mean? So, back to the whole subject, which I'm good at. I love jumping around. You know, sometimes it's fun to be spastic. Here's some KPL Heavy. I'm going to put this on before I forget, so you guys won't yell at me. Some KPL Heavy Knife Pivot Lube. I have 20% off the KPL and the doodads that I use, all this stuff. I have discount links to all that good stuff. Now, if you look right here, see this semicircle going around? Right to right there, that's where your detent ball is going to land. And let's see if this new bottle, if I can manage to get a drop out without you. Oh, see, I used too much. I always use too much when I don't use my little doodad. So I'm going to use a clean doodad to smear it around. See, I use too much. I'm just heavy-handed. That's just the way it is. That's just the way. Oh, don't sing. Don't sing. YouTube won't allow it. All right, so there you go. See, I went around there in a circle with the heavy. But this, I knew it was going to be super slicey. I knew it was going to be sharp. And if it wasn't sharp, you can like, there's nothing to sharpening HCR13 MOV. It is so easy to sharpen back. And the nice thing about that is it teaches you how to hold an angle. And it teaches you that, yes, you can sharpen a knife. Because if you go from gas station knife straight to a D2 or a harder steel, any other harder steel, you may believe that you don't know how to sharpen knives because you have trouble getting it sharp. And it may simply be because you haven't quite learned or got the technique down. When all you need to do is get you a knife, you know, like the Spyderco Tenacious. That's why I love the Spyderco Tenacious. And I am so glad that that's where I started. Was because of the blade steel, and I learned how to sharpen it, and oh my goodness, it is so easy to strop back and keep super sharp. Now, if you've been in the knife community a while and you don't have any problems with sharpening and all that, well then, you know, another argument for this knife, because when I looked and saw there was HCR, the first thing I said was, I'm not interested. But then I was like, well, you know, look at that blade. That blade reminds me of the Tenacious. And I'm grateful for the Tenacious because it is what allowed me to discover the knife community and knife collecting and this awesome world of knives. So there's a really good thing about it. And now another thing about this knife, you know, the plasticky handles, this is a knife that you're not going to care what you do with it. You know, I even have some budget knives where I'm like, oh yeah, that's a beater knife. And then I don't end up being that rough on it because I'm like, it's still 30, 40 bucks. But one like this, I just almost want to not abuse, but, you know, not really care what I do with it. If there's a knife you wanted to experiment on, maybe making a bigger finger choil or something like that, I mean, this would definitely be one of those knives to experiment with, because, you know, you have the plastic handles, you can practice doing whatever. There is a time and a place for everything, and I think this is definitely one of those knives that, you know, the only sharp part about the handle was just on the inside, which you can get rid of that in about 60 seconds with some sandpaper. So I'm putting all these screws back in here. Everything seems to be going back in really nicely. You can see those liners are nested. They're not showing. But, you know, what was it? 28 bucks? You can get, you know, it's all a matter of opinion. But I think my biggest point with this is, number one, this is a very slicey knife. Like if you use this for cutting food or in the kitchen or something like that, you're not going to dull it. You know, this HCR isn't a tough knife for like cutting a ton of cardboard. It's going to slice very well and then get dull. And you could strop it back and then it'll get dull. The thing is, it's nice and easy to strop back. Okay, I'm locked up. What did I do wrong here? Did I over tighten it? Let's take a look here. Let's see. Okay, so back it off, and okay, we're still solid. Are we the same? Yeah, it's about the same as it was before. It's not going to be shake shutty, but you're also not going to get a bunch of dirt in the pivot. So are we centered up? It's not quite. I'm going to tighten it up a little bit more. Did that center us up? No, it got worse. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the pocket clip back on here, and then I'll show you how to center it really nice and easy before I lose track of what I'm doing. You know, not that I've ever been known to do that before. Let's see, which way are we going in the pocket? Okay, just checking. Sometimes I get backwards, you know, doing everything on camera. So we'll get the pocket clip back in here, and I'm going to loosen up all these screws. Can I get to that screw with the pocket clip on there? No, I can't. All right, so forget that idea. Let's loosen up. I'm going to loosen these body screws real quick. And then I'll tighten the pivot down using a little trick. All right, so I loosened up the body. So I'm going to loosen this up all the way. I'm going to back out just a tad. There we go. So I loosened up the pivot, and it wanted to go this direction, right? It wanted to go the direction of, see how it's going this direction now? That's where I want it, okay? I want it in dead center. So I'm going to push this direction while I tighten down the pivot. All right. Okay, and now we are centered up. Let's get this pivot. Let's get this pocket clip back on here so we can go up to the main screen. Now, you guys have pretty much got a good idea of my arguments for HCR 13 MOV. Now, if you've been in the knife community for a while, and let me get these tightened up. And if you've been in the knife community for a while and you're used to sharpening and all that, well, then, you know, you may not be interested. So what I want you to do, if you will, leave a comment and support the channel by leaving a comment. And you don't have to say anything about the knife, because I know there's some folks that aren't going to like it and other folks that are going to be like, oh, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. You know, let me know what you think. And if you don't have an opinion about it, let me know what you had for breakfast. Let me know what you had for lunch or how you're feeling today. I hope you're feeling fantastic. Let's go to the big screen. Okay, we're back. So you've heard my opinions and my thoughts on this nice, tall, flat grind and the advantages of having HCR 13 MOV as blade steel. If you're newer to the knife community, if you're newer to pocket knives at all, this is a great steel. This is what I recommend to learn how to sharpen on. Now, it did get smoother and did get quicker with that cleaning. It is nice and snappy now. And by the way, if you like a full-size knife, now we're centered. Look at that. Nice thick tip. If you like a full-size knife, full-size handle, there you go. This is definitely a good beater knife or a good beginner knife. So let me know what you think about it. I really appreciate all you. Make sure you live life in the present, keep a Band-Aid handy, and don't cut yourself.